Everyone. Good evening. I'm Daniel Fountenberry, and my talk is Rethinking the Dev-Product Relationship in the No-Code Era. So I guess you could say that I am a no-code developer right now, and I know that most of you are far more technical than me, so it's not my place to come here and tell you how to use these tools that you know how to use better than I do. What I wanted to do instead was talk about my experience building a tech company 10 years ago and my experience building a tech company now. Get it back. Uh-oh. Hold on a second, pardon me. Oh, here we go. I'll pick you up. So, pardon me for this. Oh, it's a magnet. Okay, cool. All right, good. Okay. So yeah, so what I wanted to do was I wanted to talk a bit about my experience building a tech company 10 years ago and a tech company now from a founder non-technical perspective, so just so we can kind of highlight the difference, how things have changed, and what this means primarily for an audience of people like you who are primarily software developers, DevOps, all kinds of stuff. Can I get a show of hands? Who here is a software developer? Now, who works now, and of the software developers, how many of you actually work in organizations where you build software? And then who's a software developer in an organization that uses software but doesn't build software? Okay, I'll talk a bit about those distinctions. Before my experience building a tech company, I worked for a media company, and we're one of those companies that uses software but doesn't build it. Anyway, I'm going to talk a bit about what this transition to no-code, low-code means for different environments, whether you're in a tech company, an information company, or a company that uses technology to market itself but doesn't really necessarily make it. Okay, so rethinking product dev in the no-code era. Like I said, so here are my objectives. I want to mention quickly, I want to compare building a product in 2015 and 2025. I want to highlight, since this is a Google developer group, I want to highlight the tools I've been using, Firebase and the whole Google suite, which I only learned about here. And like I said, we're going to look forward to how our working relationships and our careers could change because of these new tools. So I want to go back about 10 years ago. About 10, 11 years ago, I had this idea. I was visiting classrooms and I had been developing a digital comic book, but I realized half the kids could not read it. So I was gonna make it half digital comic, half, it was gonna be a graphic novel, but I decided I was gonna make it part graphic novel, part comic because some kids just couldn't read that well. And I'm like, what could I do to accommodate all these kids in the classroom? Some of them can hardly read what I'm working on. What if I made this digital book that could actually adapt to the kids' reading ability? And so that was the genesis of this product called Books That Grow. Probably short on time, I was going to show you a little video of the kids using it. Basically, it was actually quite simple. You have a digital text, and in each digital text, you had multiple versions of the same text, and you had little assessments. And so over the child would read the book, would read these short text, there'd be a history of their assessments, and so we would try to kind of gauge where their reading level was so that it could automatically pick the right level for the kid, or the teacher could do it as well. Anyway, it would probably take you guys an afternoon to build the whole product, but back then it was actually kind of revolutionary. So much so that I was able to pull together a team of people to galvanize it. I have pictures because I was just kind of going down memory lane, but I was like, wow, I used to work with more people. Like, you had your senior developer, you had your junior developer, you had your product designer, like all these people, that used to be a part of the process. I'm kind of nostalgic because I miss hanging out with them and drinking beers with them and partying with them, but I don't work with them anymore. We're in a very new world where now it's like me sitting at a desk by myself, trying to keep myself awake. But anyway, it had a measure of success because, at the time it was novel. So, we got a little bit of news coverage and that was fun. And I got to hang out with billionaires. I don't know if you guys know who Tim Draper is, but yeah, we're in the Silicon Valley. So I got to hang out with billionaires and stuff. But you got to ask them for money. And sometimes you get to mix with celebrities as well. That was a lot of fun. and even got to go travel the world and, talk about like this stuff. But anyway, but back then, like, it didn't take a really cool idea to get you like that far, because like 10 years ago, things just didn't work the way, like, you just take it for granted. Like, you build a product, you go into an environment, and it works everywhere. Back then it was kind of like, is this software going to work? Is it going to work if it goes through this port? Like, will this connect with this? Like 10 years ago, things just were a lot less standard. So there was a lot more risk. So like, if you were building something, it was like, cool. Like, oh my God, you're building an app. Wow, that's amazing. Now it's like, everybody's building an app. So it's like no big deal. It's like, So anyway, all this fanfare for building a simple app is over, but it was fun. To get the first version off the ground, probably, I raised about 500,000 just to build like the first initial version of this. About 400,000 of that came from like winning pitch competitions and stuff, and like, some friends and family, a lot of sweat equity, to building like this app. And now, like I said, this is a very, very different experience going into building, my new product, which I'll pull up quickly, and I'll get back to my new product, CoupleRef, in Firebase Studio. So I'll just quickly go through it and like what it does, and then I'm going to dive into the experience of building this. Oh, can I zoom? Okay, let me see. Is that good? Okay. Okay. So this is CoupleRef, and this was something that was inspired by my own experience. Got married during the pandemic, had kids, and you know what? It can be a little challenging. I don't know, anybody else here married or partnered up long term? Well, anyway, you will go through stages, and so, like we did, and turn to couples counseling and therapy, which is helpful. But at one point I realized that like 5 more sessions of counseling was going to cost more than 5 days at an all-inclusive resort, including airfare. And so we're spending a ton of money per session. It's not always good. And I'm just like, damn, there's got to be a better way. And that was the genesis of this idea, CouplesRef. And I had a couple different iterations. My immediate thoughts were, you know what, I wanted to try to replicate a typical therapy session. So let me have you sit down and talk with an AI for like 45 minutes. And of course, it's like going off the rails. And also, it doesn't work. It's not like, the therapist who has your money, has the authority, keeps you there for 45 minutes. You're not going to spend that time straight, maybe you will, chatting with an AI. So I thought to conceive about it differently. And instead of you having these really long chats, actually use the AI to provide very powerful analysis and lead you through skill-based experiences. So how this works is, people will typically come in here and you have all these these short relationship assessments that are developed by real clinical psychologists. So you'll take these assessments. They only take like 10 minutes each or so, less than that. And then you get like this kind of deep analysis. So, I'll talk about you. You can compare you and your partner, all that kind of stuff. And so we have these assessments for different areas, for your communication patterns, your attachment style, personality, values, intimacy, sexual satisfaction, all kinds of areas. And you and your partner can both take these, and it'll give you back this analysis and comparison of you and your partner. As well, what it does is, after you take these assessments, it also creates personalized learning content as well. So you have, the AI will generate personalized learning journeys for you and your partner. So individual learning, as well as like courses that you and your partner can take together. So after you've taken enough of these assessments, then you can actually unlock other features like help me understand my partner. So what the app is doing is, after you take all these assessments, it's building a profile of you and your partner and the dynamics between you. So how you communicate, how you interact, like where you may be having emotional challenges, so they can give you very like deep advice. Also help me resolve a conflict. So for example, if you need to mediate a conflict, you fill out a conflict report, your partner gives the other side, and then you could have this chat where it's you and let's see, like I have an example. So where you and your partner and the AI can chat together asynchronously, and if you say something mean, the AI will like hop in and correct you. And so like, so I was testing out, I'm like, you know what are you crazy? You want me to cheat? I hate you, what are you doing to me? And the AI says, I want to call you out. So again, so you're having this asynchronous conversation and this AI is in here talking with you. This is fun. We have a tool called Say It Better. So sometimes, like, yeah, it's like if you want to have a tough discussion, and like there's something you want to say, and you don't necessarily know how to say it, and you may want some advice, you like turn to the AI and be like, help me say it better. And so, does anyone want to try anything live? Want to give me something crazy or mean that I might want to say to your partner to see what the AI tells us? Here, try me out. Let's go. Oh, so this is a section called Say It Better. And so the purpose is, if you have something you need to say to your partner, you need to express, and you're not sure how to say it, it may be difficult, it may be hurtful, or you need a little help saying something in a way that your partner will understand, this can help you. And this draws on frameworks like emotional focused couples therapy to help you. Instead of saying like, you make me feel this way, it is like, hey, let's figure out how you can communicate what you need, as opposed to saying you do this, you do that. So I want someone to give me, let's try this live, like give me an example of something a disappointment, a feeling you may feel towards your partner that you want to express.
Never do the fucking dishes.
Okay. Okay. So what it does is, so I put in, you never do the effing dishes. I'm tired of it. So first, like, let me give you some feedback. Shifting from blame to need. I hear your frustration clearly when we use phrases like you never, strong language. It comes across as blame. It can make your partner feel defensive. So let's try to shift this you language to I statements. So it's basically trying to give you a little lesson in better communication. And it's like, hey, I've been feeling a little overwhelmed and frustrated as I see the dishes piling up. It leaves me feeling a bit unsupported. I'm really exhausted. So anyway, this is an example of like how you will feel in your real marriage. And it's like, you may not say it just like this, but the idea is you're starting to think, okay, you know what? Let me be more vulnerable and think about what I need, as opposed to blaming them. And you will definitely get a better response from your partner like this. Anyway, so there's other kind of chats and experiences here, but the point is, my vision is to create individualized models, AI models. Can't do that yet. Maybe I could if I just had more money. But for now, what we could do is, approximate what it's like to have a model that's trained around how you think, how you feel, how you two interact, so it can give you deep advice. So like if we were to do a chat like, help me understand my partner, and let's see, I'll do one more, and then I'll get to how I built this. Okay, so my partner shuts down whenever I bring up finances. I want to talk about putting more money aside, and I want her to contribute more. How do I do this? So now, like I said, it's looking across all the different assessments we've taken to be like, okay, what do I know about you two? So notice this isn't like well, maybe the next version will be faster. This isn't like snappy like ChatGPT. This is a little more of a thinking, reasoning model. Probably burning a lot of credits. Okay. So now what it's doing is it's referencing a lot of the past reports. Okay, that's great. Based on your profiles, the senior partner's tendency to shut down during financial discussions is deeply rooted in a combination of their avoidant attachment style, we have an attachment report, and a significant mismatch in your perceptions of financial responsibilities within the relationship. Different reports we have. From your perspective, talks about my Enneagram, I threw that in there as well. Desire for integrity, balance, improvement, blah, blah, blah. But what you can see is taking these different assessments that are different but related, that paint a picture of me and my wife. Well, these are fictional profiles, not us. That paint a picture of these two people, and then it uses them to say, okay, this is the context. This is why I think you're acting this way. This is why I think you're feeling this way. This is why I think she's feeling this way. And here's what you guys should do. So anyway, there's more, but I'm going to stop there because when it comes down to it, it's a web app calling some models, and you guys can all build that. What I think is most important here, as I mentioned, is how I got to this process. Now, how long do you think I've been working on this?
Year.
Creating of the app or like the project management part as well as the, are you just talking about building?
Yeah, building a couple rough, what you've seen here.
I assume that must have been very fast.
You know what? I thought it would be not necessarily fast. Anyone else?
2 months?
Yeah, about that. Yeah, like 2 months. So about 2 months ago, on the 8th of August, I came to the Flutter meetup because I'm thinking, you know what? I need to learn Flutter. I've never tried it. Maybe I'll go meet a developer who'll be my friend. We'll team up and we'll work on something. And I meet Jen, and Jen is like, you know what? Before you touch Flutter, you should try Firebase Studio. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, why not? And so on the 11th of August, I sat down with Firebase Studio, and it was basically just kind of like a blank canvas. And I put in a little code, I put in a little prompt, and I'm like, oh, holy shit. I felt like Prometheus, where I was just handed fire from the gods. And I'm like, wow. But then, I tried to publish it, like nothing worked. I'm like, this is funny. So the documentation is not all that great. So you start, you're putting in your commands, you get something up front, but there's really nothing behind it. And then I figured, I'm like, okay, I think I got to go into Firebase and maybe I need to add a database or something. So I'm like, okay. So I went and figured out how to set up a Firebase database, and there was some authentication, and then it's a bit of a working app. And so it's coming along well. I'm making progress. I'm like, this is fun, right? And I'm like, you know what? I feel kind of like an imposter. This is going to stop working at some point. I'm just going to see how far I can get before I got to go back to the meetup and beg for help. I'm like, maybe I'll ask Jen for help. There's a couple other people, maybe I'll get some help at some point. And I reached out to Jen once, but he didn't really get back to me. So I was like, okay, I think I just got to just keep pushing. And so I just kept pushing and pushing, and I started getting over a lot of these hurdles. Let me get back here. I can show you now some boring stuff, but it's important. So I want to talk about Firebase Studio works generally pretty well for your front end code. You can get React, JSX stuff up fast. It looks good. It generally works. It has a lot of difficulty outside of the containerized environment because it doesn't fully understand the environment around it, and it doesn't see your setup in the back. And so what will happen is, I'll give you an example. I may need to make this much larger. It doesn't matter. The main thing is here, I'm asking for help. It's apologizing. It's giving me these file changes. And you see here, there's no diffs, right? And so it's oh, I'm doing this, and this. And I look here and I'm like, well, it doesn't look like anything's happened. And so what will happen is this. it will tell you all the things that it's going to do, all the things it's doing, because it's kind of trained on this large language model of like how to build stuff. But it won't always realize that it can't touch the things that it says it can. So it'll tell you what it's doing, but it's not really doing them. And then it's like, oh shoot, what's going on here? And then sometimes you'll give it you'll say, okay, tweak this a bit. And then you get a problem like this, where I want to see here, right here says plus 3,000 minus 970. I'm trying to make a small change. I'm like, wait, you changed 3,000 files? And I was like, oh, shoot. Yeah. 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 And like, before I didn't know what all that stuff meant. I'm like, that's a bigger number than that. Like, you know. And so what happens is it just screws up my whole app. And like, I spent a week in depression. Like, well, you could ask my wife. Like, I was not nice to my kids. I was not nice to my wife. I was just so angry because I'm like, oh my God, I spent a month and a half. I felt like Prometheus. And now I'm like, you know, Prometheus at the end of the story, chained down with like the birds picking at my stomach, you know, like, just it was really depressing. And I was writing Google for asking for help and support. And things were just like totally screwed up. And I'm like, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to get out of this? Like, you know, do I got to wait till I see Jen at the next meetup? Maybe it'll help me. Like, what's going on here? And so I kept pushing myself. So I think I spent like 5 days straight, no sleep, just in front of a computer, because like just going in circles and circles. I didn't understand what was going on. Finally, I got a lifeline. I was like, you know, let me go talk to like Gemini. And so I start talking to Gemini about this. And like, Gemini is like my new homie now. And so anyway, here's what I had to do. I went back to ask Gemini of a summary of the steps that we had to do. Now, mind you, I'm a non-dev, and before I didn't know what any of this stuff means. So first I had to figure out how to directly access my file system. I'm like, well, there's a file system somewhere? And then I went and I had to edit the environment variables, and also I had to go set up new API keys. And so then I had to go find my secrets, and I had to go correct those. They were corrupted. And then I had to leave Firebase and go into the Google Cloud Console, like Cloud Run, and start using bash commands to authenticate myself. And from there, I was able to refresh my service account credentials. And then I went and I switched from like the baby AI stuff to Vertex. And then there was this whole thing I had to go through with like finding the proper naming conventions, you know, to fix that. And then I had to go use my terminal to force to kill my GenKit server so I could relaunch my GenKit server. And then I had to go into my UI editor. And I did all these things by myself. And maybe for you guys, it's not a big deal or whatever. But for me, like, I did not, even though I had led tech teams, I had tech people, I'd heard some of these things before, but I had never done any of this myself. Now, before, I'm just kind of blindly following instructions from Gemini. Okay, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And finally, we got everything fixed. And really what it was is, at the core of it was just some misnaming of things. But of course, because Firebase can't see into the environment and understand, it can't figure out that it just needs parentheses or brackets. So it keeps making more and more changes and getting things a lot more messed up. So I had to go back and reset a lot of things. In that process, I became much more familiar with the back of my Firebase Studio app. And so now I use Firebase much, much more differently. So now I typically, once I'm here, I'm in code view doing stuff, but if I have an issue, I'm like, you know what, let me stop. I switch from this side and I go to this side.
So you became developer.
Yeah. So now I go here. And so like I'm associated with like my file tree. And so I go and I upload and edit files. I needed to get pictures into my app, and so I figured out like I have these commands I use. I have this bash command called curl, and it's like I can take pictures and I take it and I put it in my Google Drive, and then I take a little piece of the URL and I go and I use my bash command to curl and then it like puts it into my file directory. And so yeah, so now I had to spend a little time in my SR, like my different, yeah. So I spend time in like all these different files if I edit things. So like now, if I give Firebase command and I see nothing happening, I'm like, okay, you don't understand. So let me go and ask Gemini, open that file, copy it, say, okay, what do you think, Gemini? It'll tell me what to do. Or I'll say, okay, well, how can we test this? I'm like, give me a bash command I could put in, and then I'm gonna take the input, I'm gonna give it back to you, and then explain to me what's going on. And so now that's how my dev process goes. If I hit a wall of Firebase, if I try twice and it doesn't come out correct, I stop there because I know that I'm only going to create more errors. I'll look at the output, I'll put it in Gemini, and we'll do a bit of a code review. We'll go back and we'll make the changes, and I might manually edit it. A second time, things got all screwed up. Like my environment was corrupted. I published, but my environment was corrupted. And I was like, oh gosh, how do I get back? How do I roll it back? Like, and I was asking Google for a manual rollback, and they were like, well, you can use Git. I'm like, well, I don't have GitHub. I didn't realize there's like a Git built into this thing. And so like I discovered this thing called like source control, and I'm like, wow, like every, sorry. So I'm in source control, I'm like, I can see these like all my commands. And so basically now, like I have an issue, I just rebranch. I'm like, let me just figure out where things were cool, create a new branch. I probably got like tons of branches just out there, but like, I just know where my current branch is. And so now I mess up. Like I don't try to use the AI assistant to fix mistakes because they'll only make mistakes will make more mistakes. I just back up and then just kind of go from there. And so now, like I said, and now that I can do this, I'm moving even faster and starting to be able to implement more complex things. There's still things I can't do, like for example, and part of it's because I'm using a Chromebook, so I don't have like something that runs Linux. I have like a baby Linux. I don't have like real Linux. And so I'm trying to I haven't been able to set up functions yet. So I've had to be very client side, limited with the functions I could use because, some things just would be better if I had a different kind of setup. But anyway, the point is, I started off just putting in commands, thinking that like you write one really long, beautiful prompt, and you're going to get this entire app. It doesn't work. If you give it really, really long prompts, it doesn't get that much. You actually have to build it the way you build software regularly, little bit by little bit, small feature by small feature on the outside, and then go deeper to your back end and then connect them. So it's still a very kind of similar process, bit by bit. It's not just like one prompt gives you an entire app. That doesn't work. But like I said, it's not about what I've built. I think the process and my learning curve provides a bit of a window into what it's going to be like for you technical people to work with a non-technical person like me in your companies or in your organizations in the future. I'll talk more about that, but let me stop here and take questions before I go to the next part of the talk.
Do you read code? Can you read code?
I mean, I can read mine because I understand everything talks about something my app does. And so I can go to the file explorer and like look at anything and figure out what's happening.
How could you make sure the code you were generating was good? How do you judge?
How to judge? I mean, if it compiles, I don't know. And then if it compiles, and then when I go to publish, I don't have any errors. I think of my logs.
So do you have you encountered the errors?
Oh yeah. I mean, if I get errors, like I go to the logs, I put the logs into Gemini, and we talk about it, and it tells me what to do. Like for example, the other day I couldn't publish, and I'm like, what's going on? And so I gave Gemini the logs, and then it said, okay, it's looking for this module you can't find. I set up a new onboarding flow, and I removed and I deleted the old one, but there was still references to it. So when I tried to publish, it couldn't resolve because I was looking for these other modules. So I was like, okay, just go into this file. I'm I'm like, he said, just tell the AI assistant it's simple. Just tell the AI assistant to delete these files. And I saw like 914 deletions. Like, oh shoot. But then like, yeah, it just took out the old references and then it published.
That's what we do. You just copy the log and then
In fact,
But, two questions. First of all, did you ever have problems with Gemini? And second, when you have problems with Gemini, how do you like debug it yourself? Because you can, let's say you have a bug with Gemini, and then you put in the code, and then it gives you another bug, and then you re-enter Gemini, and then you re-enter that bug, and then there's another bug. How do you?
so I would say, I know that day will come. I think for now, what I do is I simplify my approach, and so I understand that there are frameworks, there are features, there's like things they can do pretty well, and so I'm not doing anything that's novel. I think I have a novel conception of how to bring together, how to orchestrate various models for a unique kind of experience. But from a technical perspective, like I'm not doing anything new. And so if I were doing things that were really new, it would be more likely that I face that error. I have leaned on primarily client side logic because it's a little more clear and transparent and less likely to run into those kind of problems. As I grow this and team up and collaborate, maybe with somebody in this room, like and do stuff that's more advanced. I don't. This isn't a way to go forever. This is a way to get to the next stage. To take the ideas out my head, get it to the next stage, and then figure out what I need, who I need, the type of team to take it to the next level. So I don't think that organizations can run completely like this, and I'll talk about that in the next stage of the talk. But I think for now, what the approach I'm taking is to simplify the solution so that I can find solutions that Gemini can help with. Any other questions? Before I move on.
Well, actually, you save a lot of time and money while you're building MVP, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when do you expect actually you need to hire actual engineer in some point?
So you know what? I think that's a good topic to kind of get back on track to the last part of this talk. So I'm gonna go slide. So how am I doing on time?
Already like 1 minute. But...
Okay, I'll keep going. You can cut me off when you want to cut me off. So let's talk about like my life in 2015 and 2025. I had junior developers, I had senior developers, I had offshore people, first in India, later in Canada. That's why I ended up here in Canada from New York, California originally, and I had a kind of a CTO. So now, who's my junior developer? It is my Firebase AI assistant. This is my junior developer. Who is my senior developer? It's Gemini 2.5. And who is my CTO for right now? It's Gemini 2.5 Pro. Yeah, and so for example, I only get, how much Gemini 2.5 Pro do you get for free a month? Like, and I get maybe one chat with him every couple of days. So like, so the one where I had to like go through the environment, the keys and the secrets and all that stuff, that was Gemini 2.5 Pro. And before, this isn't even it. Before also, I used to have DevOps administrators, like, and that was a pain in the ass. And like now with this integrated environment, don't need that guy. and then the database administrator, and like, that's one where it's like, like maybe I'd have them like part-time, always to have one, but still now with the integrated environment where you have like the DevOps and your database like closely managed, I'm sure it may not be ideal for like large scaled out apps, but starting off is fantastic. I hate thinking about this stuff. I hate thinking about the infrastructure. And so these are all these different roles that have been combined into one. And so before I had product manager. And so now I can be a product manager. I can interface with experts, and I can use this mental canvas to basically help me bring this to life, to kind of think about it and get people to play with it and interact with it. So what does this mean for me as a product owner / product manager, and you, some of you are also product owners, managers, developers, et cetera? I want to talk about different kinds of organizations, and we can open this up with this conversation. I would say that I think about 3 different types of organizations, right? Can anybody, when you see these 3 groups, how would you define like how they use technology? The role of technology within their organizations.
Well, they all use it, Google, Meta, and Amazon as for sure. Tech companies for sure, for the first group.
What'd you say?
What's the question again?
Oh, so the question is, for these companies, how would you define what's different about how technology lives within these types of organizations? I'm putting them in 3 different buckets. How would you say technology lives in these different types of organizations?
Most of this company, they use data in general. So they use technology in the sense that they need technology that brings data, which is relevant data. Like, let's talk McDonald's, for instance. How much client we have, how much customer we have in a day, what kind of product they buy in general. So it's pure data. So if you need technology in general, then use technology that brings data programming within a day. It's very business.
That's a good perspective. I didn't even think about it that way, and I think you're right. This is how I was thinking about it. Like, there are companies that build technology. That's the core of what they do. Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, whatever, they build technology. It's the core of what they do. And then you have companies that are essentially information companies. Information is their product. So technology is essential. They may build technology. So you have like a certain kind of engineer in these companies that are pure tech companies, and you have these companies that their product is essentially information. And so whether it's like Warner Brothers in movies and music, Reuters in news, Bank of Montreal, your financial companies, these are data companies. And so they're going to build some technology, won't be frontier. They will apply what these guys build to deliver their product. And you have companies, they use technology to stay in touch with their customers, but it's not their product. Like data isn't McDonald's core product, but they use a lot of it. So the point is, this revolution in no code is changing all these places. So, and I'm sure we all have friends at Google that are getting like laid off. So these folks, at first the push was, we're going to lower our costs by setting up as much software dev in India and other places as possible. And now they're even laying those people off because they're trying to do as much as they can with like AI and code. These places, they do some software development, but they also use a lot of agencies. So when you're in these kind of companies, they may go to agencies to have them build stuff. I think those agencies are going to take a serious hit. A lot of those as well. They're still going to have some IT people. The work that they would send to agencies, I think they're going to start using more of these no-code tools to do stuff. Like at a company like Reuters, we may use an agency to do some fancy WordPress stuff because like big media companies still use WordPress, like WordPress Pro for their websites. They're not going to use agencies anymore. You're going to have somebody internally that uses these tools to make this stuff. Like I said, yeah, these guys use a lot of agencies. So I think the point is, what will happen is in these companies, like you would have your software developers who are cool, and you had your IT people who basically like hung out with the copy machines and stuff. And like you could see the dichotomy between like the software people and the IT people. The software people were cool, the IT people weren't treated as cool. I think what's going to happen is a lot of what is now software development in organizations is going to move to IT. So instead of like half of what was done by the software guys is going to get moved to the IT people. The IT guys are going to be like, oh, I have this great tool for you. It's called Firebase Studio. I'm going to set it up. I'm going to configure your environment. And there you go. And so yeah, I think that there will be. Yes, I do think there will be less professional software developers in organizations. I believe it. You will have IT people who are setting up sandboxes like Firebase Studio and people and companies building their own apps or even building tools for their clients. Concepts like agile are going to become less important because it's going to cost less to build more. I think we're going to see more of a return to waterfall, where we're going to plan it out, you're going to build something, and people are going to play with it and give you feedback. So I think we're going to move away from this like agile model. And what else? And so I said, I think, and if you're thinking about like, what does this mean for you? I think the opportunity is to get in front of this, like connect with people that are passionate, that have ideas, want to build stuff, because I think that there is a revolution coming. Me personally, I'm thinking about a pain point I have, a service I paid for. I believe we're moving into this stage where there's an opportunity to disintermediate knowledge gatekeepers, to build software that provides people direct access to useful information without a kind of knowledge gatekeeper intermediator. I think it's an amazing time to build things. I think the world around us is changing, but the opportunities in the near future are not going to be where they are today. And so I think we need to be thinking ahead in terms of like how we work together as product managers, software developers, and also as entrepreneurs as we think about where the opportunities are, where the frontiers are. So best to get on the other side of this. Anyway, I know my time is done, so I'll hang around if anybody has any questions. Thank you.